Oh, that's live.
T-minus 1 minute and counting.
Hello.
Four, three, two, one.
Hello everyone.
Hello.
And welcome to yet another Thursday night in with the Flyer magazine editorial team. Hope you're all doing quite well. Hope you didn't, not quite well, very well. Hope you didn't get completely drenched by the thunder that's just gone through, or hit by a tornado even. But more about that in a minute. So lots and lots of stuff tonight. So I'm going to run straight into what else? Yeah, we got news, we got other stuff. Let's get the weather done, shall we? That's kind of interesting. So I'm going to bring in Simon Keeling. And Simon, how you doing?
I'm all right, thank you. Are you?
Yeah, I'm very good. So tell us about the weather, Simon. Very nice shirt, I have to say.
Yeah, as you like it. It's a special one this
Not
evening.
really.
I thought, given the thunderstorms, I might as well wear something tropical because those thunderstorms have come up from the tropics, believe it or not. Yeah, you like you say, some heavy rain around during the course of this afternoon and some thunderstorms as well. But the good news is it's going to be changing for the weekend. If we take a look at the chart for Saturday, then you'll see low pressure off towards the east, high pressure off towards the west. Squeezed in between those two is most of the UK and Ireland. That means that we've got a northerly flow down across the country. Now, there will be some showers across northern and eastern Scotland, down across eastern coast of England as well. Some gales affecting the northern coasts of East Anglia, where there could be some more persistent rain. But I think otherwise, we've got some decent flying conditions around during the weekend. This is what we call a polar maritime air mass, and that means sunshine and showers. Typical base is around 3,000 feet. Tops are going to be up at about 15 to 20,000 feet. Some good gaps between any showers that occur, though. It will be feeling blooming cold, though, compared to recently with that northerly wind. Now, Sunday, higher pressure building in. You can see that down towards the south of Ireland, but it's affecting the whole of the UK. Notice there the isobars are further apart. That means that the winds are going to be lighter. We've got a mix of sunny spells and just a scattering of showers. The wind's still coming in from the north, so it's still going to be eastern coast of England, the northern coast of East Anglia that see the most of any showers. But to be honest, I don't think there's going to be that many around. Only thing that will happen is that cloud will flatten out during Sunday afternoon. And I think any of those of you who are gliding probably going to find a little bit of overdevelopment in the afternoon. But generally, for most of us, good visibility. Bases about 4,000 feet. Tops are going to be at about 8 to 10,000 feet with that stratocumulus cloud. And then for Monday, of course, Bank Holiday Monday for England, Wales and Northern Ireland. High pressure is going to be with us. So I think we're looking at light winds. We're looking at dry conditions. Yes, there'll be bits of cloud developing. Bases around 3,000 feet, tops at about 5,000 feet. But overall looking pretty good. But just look out towards the west of Ireland. A little front coming in there. That's going to be bringing some mixed conditions into Tuesday. So the weather certainly got the memo. It's a bank holiday weekend and we all want to be flying, and it looks as if we will be. Last bank holiday before Christmas as well. That'll cheer you up.
Oh, that's really great news. Just a quick one. Just want to announce now, just an early announcement on September the 10th. Did we say?
Yeah,
Thursday, September the 10th. September the 10th, there's going to be a mini webinar with Simon about how to get the best out of Forms 214, 215. That's for Flyer Club members only. There'll be more details published on the website soon, and we'll talk about it between now and then. So make a date. If you're a Flyer Club member, make a date in your diary for September the 10th. If you're not a Flyer Club member, you can be before then to get exclusive access to Simon's webinar. So that's that. Thank you very much, Simon.
See you.
Have a great weekend and go flying or something. And go out and buy some shirts. How about that?
The shirt has spoken.
No, you didn't say the word decent shirts there, did you?
No. Have fun. Thanks very much.
See you all. Have a great weekend. Bye.
Yeah. You too. Bye.
Bye.
Well, that looks like we're going to get some decent weather. Talking of which, but not tomorrow, I think, funnily enough.
Yeah. Fly. Just remember, kids, flyer weather forecaster promises you good weather.
Yeah. Sorry, I think you meant Simon Keeling, not flyer weather forecaster. If the weather's no good, we don't want that coming back on us.
That's all right. Yeah.
If Simon's accurate, it's the flyer weather forecaster. If he's got it completely wrong, he was working for Pilot.
What he didn't mention is that UK is the world centre for tornadoes.
Tornado hotspot, apparently.
Yes.
More tornadoes per funny shirt than anywhere else in the world.
Yeah, it's a fact.
Yes.
He told us.
So, Dave, talk us through the news.
Well, there's quite a bit of news this week. First of all, there's a Chinese company called Zhongsheng that is distributing its new engines through to Europe through a French company. Now, you might think these engines look familiar. And certainly, if you fly a microlight or a light sport aircraft, you're probably very familiar with these. This looks very much like a Rotax. We have asked Rotax what they think of Zhongsheng distributing their engines in Europe, and so far they haven't come back to us. We also asked the LAA what they thought, and they haven't come back to us officially. So anyway, Zhongsheng are selling their Rotax lookalikes in Europe. Funnily enough, they're not cheaper. They're pretty much about the same price, although we don't know about their spares prices.
I think they're a little bit cheaper, aren't they? But not hugely. But it's not even lookalike. It's on their website. They're saying like identical to this Rotax, identical to that Rotax,
and same mounting points and things like that. It's like, okay,
yeah.
And there was a time when you ordered a 912 and got egg fried rice, but
we weren't going to do that joke. Right. Okay. Should I move on?
Yes.
Yes, I should move on very quickly. I think Flying Legends, the fantastic air show that is Flying Legends, is no longer going to be at Duxford. They announced that this week. And at the moment, we don't know whether it's going to be somewhere else, because putting a show like Flying Legends on is no easy task. It's not something any airfield could put on. So we're holding our breath on Flying Legends because that is one of the summer's highlights. Any theories on this at all?
There's a few conspiracy theories out there, aren't there? But which are clearly far more interesting than whatever the reality is, or maybe not. I mean, who knows? If you know, let us know. Send us a message.
Imperial War Museum put out a statement saying that they needed to maximise the ways that they could generate revenue, and it's hard to imagine maximising your revenue potential more than probably having one of the biggest air shows in the world.
Yeah,
because Legends is an incredible undertaking, and I saw a couple of people refer to it as probably one of the best air shows in the world, and that's probably right. So it's astonishing, really, that the fighter collection will be looking to take that elsewhere. Quite where they take it, I don't really know, because Duxford has that unique combination of kind of size and runways and setup that can handle that. I certainly struggle to imagine where it might go.
And of course, Duxford is used to handling lots of people as well. They've got big car parks. They've got all the things in place that's necessary for a big crowd. The health and safety issues for a big crowd. They know how to do that. And of course, the fighter collection is actually based at Duxford as well.
That's right. And they said they weren't moving. They said, yeah, still very friendly with it, Imperial Museum, and said no plans to move on. So
yeah. Well, let's hope that comes to a nice conclusion, because it deserves to.
Yeah.
Next weird story of the day is the Otto Solera. The Otto Solera.
Yeah.
Now,
which does look like it's just come out of Thunderbirds.
Thunderbird 2. Yes. Yeah. And this is the Otto Solera 500L, which has made its first flight. It's the big thing about the Otto Solera is its laminar flow structure. In other words, laminar flow is when everything flows smoothly, doesn't interfere with other bits of airflow, and you get a very streamlined shape. So this aircraft supposedly does not a lot of power. It's a big aircraft, can take up to 6 people, I think, and but it's got a glide ratio of 22-1, which for something which is supposed to rival a private jet is extraordinary. And it's supposed to fly long distances using very little fuel and at high speed. And if it does all that, it's extraordinary and deserves to succeed. It is a slightly weird looking thing, particularly if you look at it from side on, but it is sort of it's a bit like Thunderbird 2. Oh, at the back, you can see at the back, there's the driving motor, which is a...
Hang on a minute. Let me get this laminar flow show, because we flow smoothly here.
Yeah. At the back is a propellered engine, which is a what's called the Red 03 V12 500 something horsepower diesel engine. So this has got a piston diesel engine, driving propeller, and it's supposed to travel at jet speeds. Extraordinary.
What amazes me is you look at it, and the tailplane looks like it was complete. Like the designer of the tailplane hadn't talked to anyone else who was on the project.
No, that's a Luscombe tailplane.
Yeah. It's like that guy was on holiday, I think, when everyone else was handing in their work.
He's reading the comic.
Yeah.
And it's also that engine's got something quite funky about it, hasn't it? Because it's like I think it's a V12.
V12, yeah.
But does it run? Does both banks run independently or something? Doesn't it?
Yeah. So
it's almost like a twin.
Exactly. In one, as it were. So if one bank, for whatever reason, one bank's not going to fail entirely, I would have thought. But you can shut a bank down, apparently.
Yeah.
Anyway, there you go. What else have we got?
What else we got? We've got this week has been a big week for British aviation projects. We've heard that this is the Hill Helicopters HX50, a brand new helicopter, apparently, that has had £1.4 million worth of government grant to help get it started. They expect to be delivering certificated aircraft by 2023, which does sound a bit optimistic, you have to say, given that most helicopter manufacturers, the big ones, tend to take about 10 years to get a helicopter through certification. Anyway, it's out there, and hopefully it will come to something.
And I've got to say, that is the most gorgeous helicopter I've seen in a long time. That even rivals the things that you see the Italians make.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So very nice.
I'm firmly in the hope it happens, because that'll be brilliant.
Yeah.
I think we'll take that as inspiration, and next week for our fantasy hangar, we need a helicopter for our fantasy hangar. So that'll be next week's fantasy hangar.
Good plan.
Good plan.
I know mine already. But anyway, we won't go there. So next story in the news is another British company, Vertical Aerospace, and this is their electric air taxi. It looks a bit like the Joby, which has had billions of dollars thrown to it. Unfortunately, Vertical Aerospace haven't quite got that funding at the moment, but no doubt they're looking for it. It is a very interesting project because those 4 electric motors at the front facing upwards here in this picture, they allow it to take off vertically, and then once it's up to an altitude, it then swivels through, so they face forwards, and it operates more or less like a 4-engined fixed-wing aircraft. And that means it has better range, doesn't use as much fuel, doesn't use as much battery, and should go places. They've got a pretty optimistic schedule on that as well. But that actually looks pretty nice. Anything to say on that, guys?
Yeah. Well, well, for a start, whenever you get a new project and the new project is clearly a drawing, which is kind of what you always get, and that's fine. Everyone's always seems to me that they have like really, really ambitious plans for certification and production. And I don't think in the history of aviation, certification has ever happened more quickly than anyone thought it was going to happen, or has ever yielded. Hey, we went through certification. Aeroplanes lighter and faster. It's always heavier, slower, and longer.
Do you think the optimistic certification always comes from startup companies, though, doesn't it? It's if Bell announced something like this and said we're going to certify it, they probably they'd go, we have experience of this, and it's going to take a long time.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
you just sometimes you can't fault the newbies coming along and going, "Hey, we want this soon." And
not
it's like, you know how long this takes?
not faulting them at all. I mean, I think it's great, and we need lots of newbies, even if the sort of failure rate is pretty shocking. But we need, and when you go to a company like Cessna, generally if Cessna says we're going to certify this by a certain date, it is, and they are pretty reliable. Although they did manage to not certify the 182 diesel for a long, long time, and then dropped it quietly. They sunsetted that, didn't they?
Matt Lanham's made a very good comment. He said, "Optimism is how they raise enough funds to make it." That's true.
That's true. Yep.
Projects run on optimism. Nice one, Matt.
Although we have to say, Vertical Aerospace have actually had a prototype already. They had the thing called a Serif, and which was we're laughing because Ian has an in joke on this, which he's dying to tell, as you can see.
You need to be into typography, but I was just wondering when it didn't work if it then became a sans serif.
Right, moving on. Another little British project.
I'm here all week.
It's actually a Brazilian-American project. This is a Texas Colt, which is made in America, in Texas. However, the company behind it is a Brazilian company. Anyway, they want to make an electric version of this light sport aircraft, and they're working with a British company called Oxis Energy, who have a new type of electric battery called lithium sulfur spelt the American way. And apparently this gives more power density than the current lithium ion batteries. Power density is the secret, how much it weighs, and therefore how much power it gives and how long it lasts. So Oxis Energy is a British company. They've really got a handle on this, and if it works, then they've got a lead on this.
Well, back in February, Ian and I were out in Florida, and Ian flew the Texas Colt, and I think you thought it was pretty good, didn't you?
Yeah, it was a pretty nicely built, nicely developed LSA. Much better than the average LSA.
It's like a second generation, isn't it?
Yeah. We flew it with an untypical pilot, I would say. A really nice young guy whose kind of dad had bought the airplane for him to share, and it turns out he was studying nuclear physics or something. He was clearly had brain the size of a planet. It was kind of like, okay, yep, whatever.
Yeah,
it was good. It was good. Anyway.
Yeah.
So lots of British innovation there. Excellent. If it all comes off, that'll be great.
Cool. Okay. I think we've got a new area on the website.
Yeah. Flyer Club latest. There you go. If you are in the Flyer Club, go here. You'll find all the extra stuff that you can get. And if you're not in the Flyer Club, go here and miss out and wonder why you're missing out, and then jump to the sales page and join. It's
£2.50 a month.
Have we mentioned before that extraordinary benefit that is the back issues? Yeah, we're working on putting the back issues up on the Flyer Club, and right at the moment we've got the whole of 2011, which is 13 issues because of Flyer's strange calendar, and so there's a lot of flight tests, a lot of flying adventures, and a lot of great features, all up there to be. And you can, once you remember the Flyer Club, you get all those free.
And soon you'll have access to 2012 as well. So off you go, join. Right, let's just quickly move on because we're running out of time. It's going really quickly this week for some reason. The Fantasy Hangar, which we've decided had, remember the Fantasy Hangar? It's got a nice heated floor. It's got an apartment inside. We've got our bimbling airplanes in it. We've got our touring airplanes in it. This week, we're talking about our go-fast airplanes. So there's airplanes that, you just need to get somewhere really quickly. Time is money kind of airplanes. So, Dave, you're going to go first this time. I'm not going to spoil it and reveal Ed's, I think. So, Dave, tell us about this one.
This is the Berku, which is, as you can see, it's a canard aircraft. The engine at the back is a pusher. I managed to fly this in 1995 where they're being made in Santa Monica. I went up with their test pilots at the time, and Rick Fessenden, his name was, and we just threw it around. And he was an ex-military pilot, so he was used to doing aero stuff. And this thing just was so fast and so aerobatic and so great to fly. The only trouble was coming back into Santa Monica, we had to slow down from, some stupid speed. What is it? Let's try 200 knots we were doing at the time, coming into Santa Monica. We had to slow down to try and get into the circuit and fit into the circuit. And here was me. I hadn't long had my license at that point, and I was used to sort of flying the circuit at something like 90 knots, and here we were arriving at 200 knots. It was a bit of a shock, but lovely airplane, looks fantastic. And there is one example in the UK owned by a Formula One guy called Glenn Waters, and this is it. This is the same aircraft, and it's just a beautiful aircraft. It can. I mean, talking about speed. Speed is important in this category. Apparently, it's got a maximum speed of 215 knots and a cruise speed of 191. So, and it stalls at 61 knots. So it's not a beast by any means.
No, and I have to say that I've looked at that particular aircraft, and Glenn has done just an amazing job of it. It's just the most beautifully finished aircraft you could possibly imagine. He knows a thing about building composite aircraft, that chap, doesn't he?
He does.
Yeah.
If anyone knows him, ask him if he would like to lend us his. I think he's got a single with called GICBM with a turbine in it.
That's a Glasair. There's a Glasair 3, isn't it? Bonkers.
Glasair 3 with a turbine. Glenn, can we borrow your Glasair 3, please? Thanks.
Who's next?
Well, I'm gonna jump in next because I know what Ed's already chosen, and I think he's chosen well, shall we say. And I'm going to just rattle through a couple. I was lucky, along with Ed at Spruce Creek in Florida, to fly a couple of contenders. This one here, Quest Air Venture. I mean, look at it. It's like an egg with wings, isn't it? It's 300 horsepower engine and just a tiny, tiny airplane. Bloody little rocket. That one's got fixed gear because I believe they have a history of not entirely successful gear issues. And fun fact, I think the guy who designed this also played a large part in designing the PA-46 at Piper. Yes,
I always think if you look at this, it looks like the front of a Malibu, the rear of a Malibu, stuck on a cockpit.
I actually met that guy for a while. He worked for Cirrus, and at one point I was invited to a Cirrus event and was chatting to him over a couple of beers. It was very interesting.
Jim Griswold?
I think it might have been, yep, absolutely. Yeah. But I didn't choose that, and I didn't choose this either. Another airplane out of Spruce Creek, an SX-300. Again, little two-seat airplane, 300 horsepower, completely. I mean, you look out and you feel like you could reach and grab hold of the wingtip and change the bulb if you needed to.
Yeah, I think on that, the wing, it had less wing area than a 152, didn't it, that?
Yeah, I mean, tiny, tiny, tiny wings. Like, all the time I was flying that and the Quest Air Venture, I was going, it's going to be interesting if the engine fails. I bet this doesn't glide that well.
No.
But we didn't. So in the end, I went kind of, and everyone's going to go, oh, really? I went for the Piper Aerostar. Comfort, pressurized comfort, 260 knots at flight level 250, little electric steering on the nose. That is kind of like a go places, hauling your butt twin. Again, a relatively small wing, and I think there's been a few accidents when they've been operated out of marginal kind of runway lengths. But that would be my fantasy fast airplane. If I was in a rush, I'd happily jump in the front of one of those and be comfortable.
I've got to say, Chris Cooper has nailed a brand new. You hear lots of phrases like "climbs like a homesick angel." Chris Cooper has come up with a great new one: glides like a bunch of car keys. We salute you, Chris. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
So, Ed, just bear with me, Ed, for a second. There you go. Yours. Are you ready for yours? Is everyone ready for Ed's? I have to say this one takes the best.
Before you show mine, how fast is your Aerostar?
260 knots.
Oh, okay. I thought we were fast aeroplanes, guys.
They're funny. Are you ready for yours then?
Yes.
Okay, here we go. Look at that.
I'm kind of happy to say, Ian raised this category, and I knew straight away what my personal speedster would be. And Dave and Ian have picked their little slow aeroplanes, and I give you the Poland Special. So this is a complete one-off aeroplane. It's powered by a 200 horsepower Lycoming, but it's turbocharged and designed to operate around about 20,000 feet. And it's famous for being the world's fastest 4-cylinder piston-powered aircraft until the record was taken from it fairly recently. But this is a 300-knot aeroplane, fiendishly complex, but just you won't get a more dedicated personal speedster than this. I was really lucky to meet and become friends with the guy who owns this. It was originally built in the 60s by a guy called Dennis Poland, and Dennis eventually sold the aeroplane on. There was a special committee to evaluate people who would buy it, and a guy called Richard Kite bought this, and Richard's been operating it for several years. He's had 19. It's a bit like operating a flying unicorn. He's had 19 failures of like gear collapses and system stuff, and he's always managed to save the aeroplane. And he famously jokes that it takes kind of 25 maintenance hours for probably every 1 hour he flies it. But it's a blisteringly fast aeroplane. Interestingly, it only stalls at 49 knots. But it's slow stall speed, but then you might land and the gear collapses. So
it doesn't look like fiendishly complex, does it?
No, he was saying that when they built it, they kind of built some systems in, and then they're like, well, we're done with that, so we'll put the next layer of systems over the top. So when he got it, it hadn't flown in quite a while, and it needed work. And he said every time they went to do a job on it, they realised that the part that they needed to get to was buried behind something else. And he's
where does the undercarriage retract into? Because
it retracts into the wing. It's got this custom It's got this beautiful long custom. It stands really tall, and it's got these little thin custom gear legs that retract beautifully into the wing. And if you look at it, it's like the front end of the cowling on a twin Comanche, and it's kind of mated to a rear end derived from a midget Mustang on a custom wing, and it's just the most amazing thing. But
to fit into those wings, the retractable wheels are going to have to be the size of frisbees.
Yes, that's it. Well, you can imagine this gear is really quite a fragile and delicate thing, and that's probably why it's had so many gear collapses. But I think if you want a personal hot rod, it's hard to beat the Poland Special. And it was Dennis the first year he took it to Oshkosh. It appeared on the cover of Sport Aviation magazine, and it's famous for generating the biggest number of letters Sport Aviation ever had. People going, we want to buy plans, and he famously never sold plans. So, and fun fact: if you've got a Vans RV, the fuel caps in the Vans RV were made by a guy called Darrell Usher, and Darrell helped Dennis build the Poland Special.
This is a fun fact show tonight, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Anyway, so other things. So 20,000 feet, 4,000 feet per minute climb rate on it. Wing loading 16 pounds per square inch. So very, very fast. And
I'm right in saying I'm the only one who's actually flown the aircraft of their choice. Am I right?
But yours is still really slow out of everything, so you lose.
I'm very, very happy to say that Ed wins that tonight. That's a gorgeous airplane and a good. I mean, imagine like when you're trying to buy it, you have to pass through a committee of people that make up their mind whether you're worthy enough of owning it or safe enough to own it. More to the point.
Yeah, I think it was very much Dennis was totally committed to the idea that whoever bought it would be very, very careful with it. And I believe that Dick is planning to retire the aeroplane next year, because it's I think he's like, yeah, I've flown it so far, everything's been, I've got away with it, but I believe it may make its last flight next year, and it's going to be retired, I think, to the EAA museum. So
there's a comment from Andy Kennedy there.
Yeah, I've got to say, Andy, that is a great choice, because that if anyone has got some time to spend on the internet, the Arnold AR5 is amazing, because it's blisteringly fast on tiny amounts of horsepower.
I'm not familiar. I'm going to have a Google later.
Yeah,
Yep.
and more remarkable.
2 minutes left, guys. 2 minutes left.
2 minutes. Oh no! Quick, rush through the events.
What else have we got? Events. Bicester Aerodrome flying. Not sure if that's, well, I'm sure it is taking place, but I'm not sure the weather's going to be that nice.
The weather. Let's hope they will.
Yeah, let's hope they will. Stoke Golding flying. Anyone know anything about that?
It's Stoke Golding. When Stoke Golding normally have a very big flying during the summer, the Stoke Golding stakeout, but of course they haven't been able to do it this year because of you know why. So they're having the informal flying on the 30th, and at the moment looks like it's going ahead. But you before you go, check, because everything's in the air these days.
Yeah, lovely guys there too at Stoke Golding.
Yeah.
I meant to click on one earlier up here before, because we haven't got it in our list, which is remember the Easter Airfield fly-in next week as well. So just a quick one there. So that's good.
This is one I chucked in the list when you weren't looking, Dave. Someone reminded me that there's a mini Scottish tour taking place with fly-ins at Sunday the 30th at Strathaven, Strathallan, Westmuir, and now East Fortune. So check in with those airfields for PPR, but it sounds like there's a little bit of a tour going on. The organisers said just follow Scottish COVID-19 rules. And also reminded me that the Mull RV flying is still on, but there's nothing organised and no facilities. But PPR if you want to attend that.
Okay, so rushing, we're only 30 seconds over at the moment. So what else have we got? A magazine. There is going to be one that'll be next week. What else have we got? Join the Flyer Club. Don't forget that. 15% off cheese and all sorts of other bits and pieces as well. And the face masks are coming on, but we're kind of looking for some cheaper ones. The one we got are really good, but they're just a little bit expensive. Anyway, so I think that's about it for tonight, isn't it? And next week, we'll see helicopters. Join us next week for that, and maybe a special surprise guest as well next week. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Ed. Thank you, Dave. Great aeroplanes, and have a good one.
Okay.
We'll take care, everyone, and fly safe this weekend.
Yeah, and have a great weekend. Fly safe this weekend. Good one. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.